Dear Excellencies, Ministers, dear guests, dear colleagues, it is with pleasure and great honor that I address to all of you a few words in the scope of this conference titled The Intellectual Property Metamorphosis in the Age of Digital Transition. I also would like to congratulate the Ministry of Justice and the National Institute of Industrial Property in the scope of the Portuguese presidency for choosing a so beautiful topic related to the cycle of a butterfly and its relation to science and innovation. Today, we are celebrating the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, and I would like to share with you some examples of science and innovation. The title of my presentation is How to Invent a More Sustainable World. I will start by showing a beautiful video about the metamorphosis of the blue morpho butterfly. Now, you may ask, what is the reason for having shown this film? Indeed, the color of these butterflies' wings has everything to do with the work I do at the Materials Research Center from Nova University. If we look at a piece of the butterfly wings under the electron microscope, we will be surprised by an ordered structure with dimensions on the micrometer and sub-micrometer scale. This type of ordered structure at the nanoscale is responsible for the blue color of the wings. This is called structural color and is due to the optical interference of one of the more beautiful structures found in nature. What is the nanometer scale we are talking about? One way to visualize this scale is, for example, by using this image. If we divide the diameter of a tennis ball by the diameter of the Earth, we will get 10 minus 9, which is a nanometer. In the next few slides, I will take a trip through some of the research work in my lab that uses nanostructures and in some cases very similar to the blue morpho butterfly wings. Transparent electronics is the possibility to use transparent electronic materials for making transparent displays, transparent integrated circuits with a great impact in displays. Like the ones we have in mobile phones, the size of the mobile phone now is limited by the size of the display, as it is shown. This is only possible because we are using a new class of semiconductors based on metal oxides. Just for having an idea about the impact of transparent electronics, in this figure we have some large numbers related to the growth of mobiles, televisions, and computers in the near future. And all these semiconductors are based on zinc oxide, a common material found in sun creams and cosmetics, for example. And this is how they look like at the nanoscale. Another application is the possibility to use nanostructures in order to manage light absorption, or increase the efficiency of low-cost, flexible solar cells. In the area of biomedical applications, example of the use of gold nanoparticles, this is a typical nanomaterial. At the macro scale is yellow, but at the nanoscale is red, like in this image. This is why nanomaterials are so interesting. We can tailor the properties depending on the scale. Another example, for example, nanoenzymes and application in diagnostic tests for glucose using paper. In the area of biomedical applications, bioimaging, we can exploit the large surface and the biocompatibility to interact with cells, for example, or the use of sensors for bacteria detection. Another example of biochips using a microfluidic system with nanoparticles to perform reactions, the so-called lab-on-chip. Smart textiles, for example, for flexible electronics like conducting fibers. In the area of circular economy, examples of the use of industrial residues rich in zinc oxide and the possibility to use them for optoelectronic applications, like UV sensors. Again, in the area of circular economy, examples of the use of industrial food residues and the possibility to use them for producing biopolymers, like microneedles for vaccines or drug delivery, or the use of metal oxides and nanostructures in photocatalysis for water purification. And another example with photonic sensors based on cellulose derivatives. In the area of electronics, we are working on renewable and sustainable materials. Now this is what we are producing, electronic waste. And of course, for some electronic applications, we need to have alternatives. Some examples are conducting paper and paper-based integrated circuits. But we are not limited to use cellulose of vegetable origin. We are also using cellulose from bacterial origin, and in this case we are using the vinegar bacteria for producing nanocellulose, as it is shown in this image, and we can have what we call transparent paper, 100% cellulose. Examples of the use of other materials from renewable origin to be used in electronics applications, like the case of cork. We are producing graphene out of cork. Finally, I would like to thank our group. The work I have just presented was done by them, as well as the funding agencies that have believed in us over the years, with special emphasis for the European Commission and the European Research Council. We used to say this in the lab: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This is our trend. I also would like to share now with you a video that was done by the European Patent Office during 2016 edition for the work based on paper transistor. Thank you for your attention. And finally, the world needs more science and Europe needs more scientists. Thank you. Welcome to Universidade Nova de Lisboa in Portugal. Here is where we create the future and turn the page. We are creating a new era of electronic materials, green electronics. With conventional electronics, we are facing a huge problem since we are producing electronic waste and we are exporting this problem to other parts of the Earth.
Either for producing or for recycling silicon, we have to use a very high temperature, above 1000 degrees.
We invent a paper transistor made with and on paper.
My first reaction was, it will not work.
I like very much to use already available materials, already available technologies, combine them, but for completely different application.
With this piece of regular photocopy paper, we can make
semiconductors for low-cost electronic applications.
We change the he from the left to the right because it's paper he, because you are not substituting paper by an electronic component. No, we are using paper for an electronic application.
We have a sustainable material, ecological product, fully recyclable, and can be processed at low temperatures. Those are things that we cannot do it with silicon. With paper, it's very simple.
We start with a sheet of paper and we copy on both sides two different materials, a conductor and a semiconductor. That's it. Of course, we don't want to replace a conventional microprocessor, but also we can use paper for other applications.
There are other type of applications that only our imagination in the future can save.
My work is a passion, and I love the work I'm doing and also in the way I'm doing.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for giving me the floor. As we've heard through the entire day, the world we live in is changing, and it's changing rapidly. Whether we call it frontier technologies or emerging technologies, Industry 4.0 or Society 5.0, the change that we're seeing is being driven by an unprecedented merging of digital, physical, and biological technologies. It is the coming together of technologies such as the Internet of Things, AI, big data, cloud computing, blockchain, 3D and now even 4D printing, digital twins and biotech platforms that is driving the rapid transformation. Data and intangible assets are the bedrock of this new world, and IP is rapidly gaining increasing importance over physical assets. Frontier technologies have the potential to provide significant economic growth. According to the World Economic Forum, it is expected that by 2025, so not very long from now, nearly a quarter of global GDP will come from digital technologies such as AI and cloud computing. It is also estimated that the value creation potential of manufacturers and suppliers implementing Industry 4.0 technologies in their operations amounts to around $3.7 trillion by the same year. Innovation, creation, and IP go hand in hand. IP is central to driving this economic growth and activity. Strong IP systems and innovation strategies are and will also continue to be key to ensure far-reaching diffusion of these new technologies to benefit all and to leave no one behind. The IP system that we have today was developed with a focus on human creation and human innovation, and to encourage the development of technologies that enable production processes and trade of physical products. The IP system was also designed when the speed of innovation and creation was much slower than it is today. One of the important tasks that we face today is to ensure that the current IP system continues to promote innovation in the digital age. WIPO is committed to support innovation and creativity, to be a convener for discussion and to provide a forum to contribute to an IP ecosystem that fosters growth of our economies and supports innovative and creative enterprises for the benefit of all. That commitment at WIPO has several strands. First, raising awareness of the new frontier technologies and their IP implications. Providing practical tools to our stakeholders to assist the digital transformation, adopting the WIPO services to take advantage of those new technologies to benefit inventors and creators, and last but not least, to provide a forum for balanced policy discussion and engaging in all of the interlinked discussions around the technologies, including, for example, data and privacy and being a voice for IP. AI is currently the most prolific of the new technologies in terms of the number of publications and patents, as can be seen from the WIPO Technology Trend Report 2019. AI is a general purpose technology and as such has and will certainly have applications and touch points in all of the new frontier technologies that are on the horizon. In terms of AI, one of the main threads of WIPO's engagement of the last 18 months was the WIPO conversation on IP and AI. The conversation sought to raise awareness and help stakeholders define the questions raised by AI for the current IP system. The so-called revised issues paper collects these questions and was subject to public consultation, in which around 260 submissions from a wide set of stakeholders were received. Further, the second and the third session of the conversation provided a forum for the conceptual discussion on all of these topics. WIPO is currently turning its attention to providing practical tools to our stakeholders that allow them to successfully navigate the AI field and to provide support for a thriving IP ecosystem. For example, WIPO has created an AI and IP strategy clearinghouse that collates policies, case laws, legislative provisions, and the main government instruments of relevance to AI and IP. WIPO will continue to update and supplement this information on an ongoing basis. WIPO is also looking to prioritize a number of further issues and continue the discussion on AI and IP with a view to developing further practical steps and tools. WIPO is closely working with a number of other agencies to address interrelated issues of IP, such as data and privacy. For example, WIPO is participating in the current process at UNESCO to develop a first global standard-setting instrument on the ethics of AI. In parallel, WIPO is continuing to adopt new technologies, including AI, in its operations to serve its stakeholders and to match the speed of change and innovation which we are experiencing. AI will allow WIPO and other IP offices to deal with the increased complexity and volume of IP applications, as well as the increased need for collaboration between IP offices. AI tools developed by WIPO, such as WIPO Translate and WIPO Brand Image Search, use AI-based applications for automated translation and image recognition. These tools are intended to help offices and applicants in IP registration and administration. With that, I hope I have given you a whistle-stop tour of WIPO's work in the AI and IP field. Thank you for your attention, and I wish us all a good last session of the day. Thank you.
Permitam-me que comece por agradecer ao governo português, em particular ao OMPI, o amável convite que me foi endereçado para participar neste evento. É um prazer e, sobretudo, uma honra poder participar neste fórum ao lado de tão distintas personalidades dos setores da vida económica, política, da academia e da inovação. Ainda em português, permitam-me também que deseje à presidência portuguesa do Conselho da União Europeia os maiores sucessos na implementação da estratégia e das prioridades definidas para a presidência. Todos reconhecemos os enormes desafios, creio que temos pela frente. No entanto, e enquanto um europeísta convicto, estou convencido de que juntos lograremos superar esta crise sem precedentes. E se me permitem, continuaria a minha intervenção em inglês. The only way forward for Europe to overcome this crisis and to prosper in the digital age is through strong cooperation and coordinated efforts between all EU institutions and its member states. Because to overcome this crisis, we need to dig deep, whilst at the same time taking a fresh new look at the roots of the European construction, where we will certainly find in cooperation an important part of the solution to prevail against the pandemic and its devastating humanitarian, social, and economic effects. I'm very proud to stand here before all of you representing an international organization that is truly a European success story, one with more than 40 years of continuous expansion and success. One that has prospered through the continuous engagement of what are today 38 member states with different sizes, languages, cultural backgrounds, but still committed themselves to work together every day to provide European and global innovators with a sound legal instrument to protect their inventions. Those same inventions that have saved billions of lives in the past and will certainly continue to do so in the future. European Patent Office is one of the best examples of what we Europeans can achieve when we take advantage of our common identity, but also of our diversity and devote it to a bigger purpose. And that is only possible because, as I often say, cooperation is part of EPO's DNA. Previous speakers have shared their views on how intellectual property, and patents in particular, can contribute to overcome the crisis. Well, I'm bringing you an additional perspective, one that will hopefully demonstrate how we, at EPO, are cooperating in the field of patents to support SMEs, our universities and research centers, and our big industries in addressing these particularly challenging times by seeking to provide them with the best possible environment to protect their inventions in Europe and globally. So in other words, I will share with you how we went back to our own roots, the so-called cooperation DNA, and slowly started our own metamorphoses to broaden the impact of the European patent system, both in Europe and globally. And I think the best way to illustrate this to you is to briefly guide you through the main goals of our strategic plan 2023 in terms of cooperation. Starting, of course, with the cooperation with our member states within the European Patent Network, we have allocated an annual 16 million budget to support cooperation activities and projects that are structured according to 4 pillars: patent knowledge, IT cooperation, convergence of practices, and awareness and promotion. Let me share with you some of the main features and objectives that we pursue under these pillars. Starting with the patent knowledge, I think this is an excellent example of an area that is evolving very quickly and that demands from us, and from the members of the network, a very proactive response in order to be able to meet the needs of our users and civil society. At DPO, we are custodians of the largest collection of patent documentation. Our databases contain over 120 million patent documents. And we all know, and we have heard many times, about the power of information. But what we are really committed to do through this pillar is to transform, upgrade, or again, to use metamorphosis as a process to transform information into knowledge. And this can and is in fact already being done by promoting the use of patent intelligence as a tool to make a strategic use of technological information. At the same time, we are now, as my president said this morning, revamping our network of over 300 patent centers around Europe. These patent information centers were created decades ago as a means to disseminate patent information during the paper-based era, and later, of course, as well during the CD-ROM era. So we are now working with our member states in, again, a metamorphosis to upgrade the network by, for instance, providing them with the means and the knowledge to support inventors in defining the strategies to take their inventions to the market. In the IT cooperation pillar, we are developing tools for the future, e-filing, new advanced tools for classification and search, many of those already using well-advanced and in-house generated AI algorithms. When it comes to convergence of practices, we work together with our member states in trying to reach a common understanding on how to assess different important legal norms and guidelines. Coming to awareness and promotion pillar, we intend to work hard to spread and continue to consolidate an IP culture in Europe. For instance, not only by explaining the benefits of protecting their inventions to our universities and research centers, or to our micro, small, and medium enterprises, which at the end of the day represent the backbone of Europe's economy, but also by going a little bit more far, by helping them with the support of the patent professionals to identify innovative technologies, products, and processes that are worthy to be protected by patents. But allow me to take also a couple of minutes to tell you what we are doing in the international arena in terms of cooperation and how our strategy here is also fully molded to support as much as we can European innovators and inventors. I think I can proudly say that the European patent system is widely recognized by applicants worldwide as the one meeting the highest standards in terms of quality. This is the result of successive independent surveys run with users of the patent system from all around the world. And it's not only the users, we hear it very often from our cooperation partners too. And this recognition is the result of a formula with many ingredients. I will point out only some of those. Firstly, and I think above all, due to a highly trained and skilled workforce, our staff of nearly 7,000 Europeans, of which almost 4,000 are patent examiners, working in multidisciplinary teams of 3, able to search and examine in English, French, and German. They are the ones that ensure a top-ranked quality in search and examination of patent applications. And they make of the European patent system a legally solid and predictable one. Secondly, our databases. Through decades of cooperation, we have managed to gather the most comprehensive collections of patent and non-patent literature. Billions of records that are available to our patent examiners at the time of conducting their search and examination. Thirdly, our tools, the most complete and advanced for search and examination, and others, such as machine translation, developed together with Google, which provides translations of patents in 32 languages, a tool that is assessed around 20,000 times per day. And lastly, I would add the long-standing propensity of the EPO since its inception until today to cooperate with our member states and extension states, with our European and international partners, of course, including the European Commission, EUIPO, CPVO, and of course, with WIPO. These are, as I said, just some of the elements that make the European patent system a global benchmark and consequently also a highly demanded cooperation partner by IP offices worldwide. But at the end of the day, cooperation should be designed to serve the needs of stakeholders, in particular our users, and I would even go further and say our European users. And how can we better serve our European users when expanding their businesses and going global? In our view, this is done by expanding the geographical outreach of the patent system, by creating the conditions for our users at the time of deciding to protect their inventions abroad to find a patent system that is as much reliable, predictable, and legally solid as possible. And that also means a patent system that is as close as possible to ours in Europe. To support us in achieving these goals, we have developed 2 advanced cooperation schemes, the validation agreement and the reinforced partnership. For instance, by signing a validation agreement with the European Patent Organization, a country is accepting that, upon the request of an applicant, a patent application that is submitted to and granted by the EPO is recognized in its country, becoming a national patent. The validation agreements expand the geographical coverage of a granted European patent to countries that are outside of the European Patent Convention. I think that this is by all means remarkable and an impressive signal of the trust these countries place in the work of the EPO, but most importantly, it's a huge support to European inventors at the time of protecting their inventions and businesses abroad. Still following this objective of promoting the quality, reliability, and the legal soundness of the work performed by the EPO examiners, and again, in an effort to provide you innovators a friendly and known patent system at the time of patenting globally, we have developed a second cooperation scheme called Reinforced Partnership. The final purpose of Reinforced Partnership is to promote, to the maximum possible extent, the reuse of the EPO search and examination results whenever a patent application is filed in a partner office and the search and examination of the same application was already conducted by the EPO. As I mentioned before, through validation and reinforced partnership, we are not only expanding European best practice, but also increasing the potential geographical outreach of EPO search and examination results that now reach out to a market of around 1.9 billion people. All of this to support our European and global innovators who continue to put their trust in the quality of the work done by the European Patent Office. This brings me to the end of my intervention, hoping that I managed to illustrate how cooperation in the field of patents can be a valuable instrument to support our innovators, and how through different stages of metamorphosis, we are working to make Europe an attractive and reliable market for all of those that make use of intellectual property rights as an instrument to secure and reap the benefits of their innovation strategies. Thank you for your attention.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Permitam-me que nesta ocasião, em Portugal assume a presidência da União Europeia, comece a minha intervenção no meu idioma materno para felicitar, em primeiro lugar, a presidência portuguesa pela organização desta conferência de alto nível, bem como para agradecer ao Instituto Nacional da Propriedade Industrial o amável convite para contribuir para a discussão destes temas de elevada importância e de elevado interesse. Turning now to English and following the motto of this conference to briefly discuss how the European Union Intellectual Property Network, or simply the EUIPN, a groundbreaking initiative created precisely 10 years ago by the EUIPO and the national IP offices of the European Union, has decisively contributed to first, modernize the IP landscape in Europe for the benefit of users. Secondly, how it presently supports business in Europe during the crisis generated by the COVID pandemic with concrete and tangible actions. And thirdly, how it could further contribute to support and shape the IP system in the near future. I don't intend to speak and to spend too much time talking about the past, but in order to better understand the transformative potential of this network, allow me to simply say that during the last 10 years, the EUIPN has played a decisive role in modernizing the IP landscape in Europe. This was done mainly by launching a comprehensive digital transformation program that involved the creation and deployment of some 30 state-of-the-art e-business common tools in all IP offices of the EU, covering the full cycle of trademark and design protection, as well as a set of common examination guidelines, ensuring high levels of consistency, predictability, and legal certainty for users. In total, more than 1,000 implementations of these common tools and practices have been carried out in all EU IP offices. Furthermore, bearing in mind that European business operates globally, the benefits generated by the EUIPN in Europe have been extended internationally to some 70 IP national offices across the 5 continents through the different cooperation programs run by the EUIPO, allowing European companies to also benefit from an effective IP protection in these regions. Although these results continue to generate on a daily basis significant benefits for users, bearing in mind the particularly difficult situation that European businesses are currently facing, the question that we all must now ask is, how can the EUIPN contribute to support business, and particularly SMEs, that represent around 99% of all companies in the European Union during these unprecedented and challenging times? The partial answer to this question can be found in the European Commission's IP Action Plan, launched on the 25th of November of 2020. Acknowledging its transformative potential and capacity to affect positive change in the IP system, the Commission has called on the EUIPO and the EUIPN to contribute to the overall efforts of economic recovery through the implementation of 2 concrete initiatives. The first one regards the creation of an IP voucher to assist SMEs through the provision of financial support. The second one refers to the creation of an European IP Information Centre to provide a wide range of services to European business and more particularly to SMEs. A first initial response of the EUIPN to the first challenge came immediately after the adoption of the IP Action Plan, with the creation of a dedicated SME fund with a budget of 20 million euros financed from the legacy surplus of the EUIPO and the contribution of the Commission COSME program. This fund covers two different services. Service one involves the financing of 75% of IP pre-diagnostic services offered by participating national or regional IP offices. Service two involves the financing of 50% of the basic application fees of national, regional, and EU trademarks and designs. The first window of the operation of the fund ran from the 11th to the 31st of January. After this very first short period, we can conclude that the SME fund is a clear success, with more than 1,200 European SMEs from all EU member states receiving financial assistance to ensure expert advice, as well as to help them obtain protection for their investments in innovation through industrial property rights. You can see the figures by member state on the left side of the slide, with Portugal and Spain on top of the table. Well done. Although this initiative was clearly necessary, we know that this was not enough, since SMEs face a number of challenges and difficulties that require a variety of different support instruments. Therefore, the EUIPO decided to complement this initiative with the launch of 4 additional specific SME-related services. The first of these services regards the launch of a simplified version of our e-filing tool specifically directed at SMEs. The second one entails the creation of a dedicated area for SMEs in the EUIPO website, making available relevant and easy to understand information about IP rights. The third one regards the creation of a platform to facilitate access to pro bono providers, through which more than 200 IP lawyers from 26 member states offer today these services directly to SMEs. And finally, the fourth one refers to the offer of effective dispute resolution for unrepresented SMEs in all proceedings of the EUIPO, with the objective of avoiding complex litigation and contribute to solving disputes in a free, fast, efficient, remote, and confidential manner. Looking forward, as mentioned before, despite the very encouraging start of the SME Fund and the different SME-related services, these initiatives represent only the first step of the involvement of the EUIPN in this area, since it is clear to us that support to business and to SMEs in particular will continue to be required in the years to come. In this context, the further initiative for which the EUIPO and the EUIPN are being called refers to the creation of an EU IP Information Center. Discussions in this regard will be kicked off in the beginning of next month with our partners, the European Commission and the IP offices of member states. Whilst I don't intend to preempt these debates, I believe that there are a number of conceptual elements that are relevant in this regard and should be taken into consideration in order to ensure that this upcoming initiative can effectively support SMEs to grow their business and to protect and enforce their intangible assets. The first element refers to the need to maximize the impact of this initiative by exploring synergies and avoiding duplication of efforts, ensuring that European IP Information Center operates as the common aggregator platform that builds upon existing national and European information centers, help desks, and support networks. Secondly, a wider proximity networking is required, and therefore, this decentralized initiative should ensure a direct and local access to SMEs, communicating and delivering relevant service in their respective language at national level. Thirdly, industrial property rights cannot be seen in isolation and enter in many aspects of business development. Therefore, the Information Center needs to ensure an appropriate level of interaction with both the IP and innovation ecosystem. In this regard, it will be important to engage with a variety of relevant players, such as domain name providers, business registries, accountants, legal practitioners, banks, or business angels, both at national and European level. Fourth, links to research and innovation policies need to be ensured. The European IP Information Centre, through its national presence, should act as the catalyst, helping SMEs to understand and assess their innovation potential through the provision of high-level analysis and subsequent guidance to the relevant European and/or national innovation support schemes. Finally, as regards sustainability, future financial support instruments should feature new types of services, such as, for example, advanced IP scans, IPR evaluation services, financial support to obtain IP legal advice, pro bono services, or effective dispute resolution. These are, among many others, some of the possible ideas that we will be discussing throughout this year and that could lead to a concrete set of new initiatives to be implemented by the EUIPN in the near future to further support European SMEs. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for your kind remarks. Muito obrigado pela vossa invitação.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
It's not good enough to be able to give my speech in Portuguese, but I have to confess that I'm quite happy to be here today, accompany my beloved colleagues of the Portuguese Intellectual Property Office of the OMPI, because I am director of the Spanish Patent and Trademark Office, but I was born in Badajoz, really close to the Portuguese border. So it's a great pleasure for me to be here in this high-level summit, in this high-level event of the Portuguese presidency. And of course, I'm well aware of the difficulties of organizing this main event in this context of the pandemic situation, which is hitting hard our countries, both Portugal and Spain. So I would like to have this moment to think, to reflect a little about the victims of the COVID-19 disease and their families, because we are going into rough times, but we will succeed in any way. Of course, I would like to thank the organization for thinking about me in order to talk about this really important topic, so connected with the current situation we are going through in our countries, and especially for having thought about me, being surrounded by so impressive speaker on the field of IP, like Mr. Vilela, Mr. Negrão, Dr. Till, and of course, President Bandeira. I think she will talk after me. But well, going into the topic I've been tasked to, I would like to consider first of all that we should consider a definition of a medical device. What is a medical device? Well, a medical device, according to the European medical device regulations, is any instrument, apparatus, appliance, software, implant, reagent, material, or any other article intended by the manufacturer to be used alone or in combination for human beings for one or more of the following specific medical purposes. Firstly, we should talk about diagnosis, prevention, monitoring, prediction, prognosis, or treatment of any alleviation of any disease. Secondly, we should think about investigation, replacement, or modification of the anatomy or of a physiological or pathological process of state. Of course, we should also think about any instrument thought for providing information by means of in vitro examination of specimens derived from the human body, including organ, blood, tissues, and so on. And of course, we should also consider, really important in these times, product specifically intended for cleaning, disinfection, or sterilization of any other medical devices. That's what a medical device is according to the European regulations. And from an IP perspective, we think that we should take into account that we should consider that this kind of medical devices have to be intervened by two different actors, two different public authorities. On the one side, we should think that any medical device has to be approved by the medical authority, because they must be safe to be used in humans. So agencies, health agencies must approve these devices. But in terms of specifically IP right, we should think that in our patent office, we should examine if these medical devices must have, of course, novelty, inventive step, and industrial application as any other invention to be protected by a patent. So having said that, we can, following the statistics of the European Patent Office, we should say that medical technology is one of the top 10 fields of technology, considering the patent application submitted to the European Patent Office. So it's a really important field of technology in our Europe and of course around the world. And it has we can see an increase of the applications in the last decades. I can talk specifically as director of the Spanish Patent and Trademark Office. I can talk specifically about the trends we have been seeing in our office in the last decade, thanks to the international patent classifications. We should follow the trends by examining the class A and specifically the subclass A61 with the different categories inside this subclass. Well, following this subclass A61 of the international patent classifications, I can tell you that in terms of the national Spanish patent system, so talking about national patent applications, we have seen more than 1,300 applications in the last decade just in this subclass A61, and that's quite important to as another way to protect innovations in technology. We have also seen more than 1,700 utility models in this category. So a really important part of our inventions, of the national inventions, are connected with medical devices. And there are a lot of reasons why, and we can talk later about that. In order to promote the information technology connected to these medical devices and in general to medical technology, we have several tools in terms of technological surveillance, most of them free for the users, like our technology watch bulletins. I can tell you that in order to promote the knowledge of this technology, we have a historical bulletin, a bulletin on medical devices with a lot of numbers edited each 3 months. And more recently, we have started a new technological bulletin specifically on medical technology and medical devices related to coronavirus. We call it Coronavirus Diagnosis and Therapy in Humans. It has been edited since last year in order to help our researchers, our innovators, to fight better against the coronavirus disease. And well, I can give you some examples of medical devices, but I think that anyone could think about a medical device connected to their realities. For example, I can name you a medical device for repairing and, for example, intervertebral disc. We can also talk about different medical devices connected with, for example, filter, like a multi-layer filter, with antimicrobial properties, and it's used in respirator and protective masks applications, quite connected to our current reality too. And of course, we can talk about different systems to aid in the surgical positioning of needles and pins in bone surgery. So any medical device to be used specifically in surgery. And well, I would like to finish my short intervention talking about the future, as many other people have done in this quite interesting high-level conference. First of all, I would like to tell you, I would like to share my view on this field, because we should take into account that our societies are absolutely evolving in terms of population and in terms of sociological trends. And we are watching how life expectancy in our societies is growing, fortunately, is growing yearly, on a yearly basis. And of course, we can see in our public structures new ways of getting old and new ways of being old in our societies, like, for example, what the World Health Organization called the active aging. So I think that these trends in terms of sociology are going to push our technology and our innovation. So this trend of medical devices are going to continue. Of course, these trends are going to continue. And I bet that we are going to see in our future even more and more and more innovation connected to, in general, of course, medical technology, but indeed in terms of medical devices. And well, a lot has been told about this topic here in this IP conference today, and we have to talk inevitably of artificial intelligence and medical devices. In this context, I would like to make you think about a triangle. In this triangle, in any vertex of the triangle, we can think about how artificial intelligence is going to act by supporting one of the last trends in terms of public health and in general in health system like telehealth. In this triangle, we have, on the one side, we have the patient with these personal sensors which connect this patient with the rest of the system. In the other part of the triangle, we can have the medical personnel with their own personal sensors to connect with the patients. And on the other part, the third part of the triangle, we have a strong hardware and software with databases, which makes the personal sensors of the patient and the personal sensors of the medical people and the medical staff to connect all the information and to make understand better the situation of the patient. In that context, we must say that artificial intelligence is going to connect the patient data with a lot of big databases to help the medical staff and the medical personnel select the final plan, and then thanks to, for example, some image processing features at the end of the process to select a new treatment plan for this patient. And we can see that in recent survey applications at the European Patent Office, because more and more every day we can find applications both at the national level but also at the European level connected to AI related inventions which have a technical character and because of that can be patented. I can name, for example, one of the most recent applications in this area, and I can name it like the use of a neural network in a heart monitoring apparatus for the purpose of identifying irregular heartbeats makes a technical contribution. This is a technical contribution, so it can be patented. So I must finish my intervention. Of course, thank you for your attention, but I think that we should be closely monitoring these inventions on the technical device level, on the medical device level, because in our future, both national IP offices and of course international IP offices like the European Patent Office are going to see a big increase in terms of medical devices. And this is one of the main fields of the future of our innovation, specifically in Europe. So as a Europe-based guy, I think that we should follow this trend in order to help our societies to live longer, healthier, and safer. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. After a full day of interesting presentations that gave us real food for thought, we now arrive at the end of the fourth panel of the conference, the end of the butterfly metaphorical cycle, even though we cannot talk about the end. There has always been technological evolution, and there always will be. Technology will always create new ways to fit the needs of everyday life. It's now the time to see what the future of technology and industrial property will look like. With such fast development, it becomes essential to raise the question, where will we be in 2 to 3 years from now? It's certain that the digital transition will be a key element as a driver for economic recovery, bringing citizens and services together, bridging distances, as we have witnessed with the pandemic situation we currently live in. The promotion of industrial property system is one of the priorities set out in the Portuguese presidency agenda as a foundation for a common answer to the fight against the pandemic. It's a driver and an incentive to spread technology. The IP world should be in constant and rapid change to face the current challenges. The importance of protecting innovations and creations through IP has been growing globally. This trend boosts the offices to innovate in terms of the internal management, optimizing HR and financial resources, and to have a closer relationship with citizens and all stakeholders. To this end, we are committed to using cutting-edge information and communication technologies to simplify and speed up administrative procedures. It is our aim to increase activities for disseminating industrial property, always having in mind quality. In this respect, OMPI has established in the strategic plan for the next 3 years the following priority actions: to optimize resources, investing in people talents, to improve the quality of the exam, optimizing customer service, to support innovation in different sectors and industries, to encourage international cooperation and harmonization. Regarding our first priority, promotion excellence in the organization, we need to find the best answers to the challenges faced on a daily basis, to motivate and to retain the current staff, to invest in programs of well-being work, achieve a balance of personal, family, and professional life, and foster telework, to foster environmental awareness and remodeling buildings should also be part of this journey. Regarding buildings, we want to adapt them to digital and modern life, implementing sustainable and environmental construction. The technological transformation of the digital world will be absolutely essential to improve efficiency, allowing the revision of internal procedures with the aim of total automation. Moving on the second pillar, ensure quality. This is a key tool for the sustainable growth of the economy and for the country's scientific and technological development. OMPI continues to regard it as absolute priority to ensure high levels of legal certainty and security. We will implement a new back-office tool for trademarks and designs in cooperation with the EUIPO, implement a new internal research tool, intensify investing in quality to maintain our certification by ISO, and strengthen cooperation with the national enforcement bodies and with the European Observatory on Infringement of IPRs. Now let's have a look at the Pillar C, provide the best possible services for IP users. We always have in mind that a fast and friendly quality service which effectively solves the problems must be provided. We will implement a new user authentication system for better data protection, change the digital signature system, integrating online services to be made with a digital mobile key, make a new design of online services available for every device in order to be easier and efficient, and create a new IP bulletin with publishing in PDF, HTML, and for mobile devices. Now, Pillar D, encourage and support innovation in Portugal. In this context, I have to point out that Portugal is now a strong innovator country according to the 2020 edition of the European Scoreboard Innovation. Regarding our fourth priority, I will just mention some of our main activities, but very important to create a working group with the aim of defining an innovation strategy for Portugal with the participation of public and private stakeholders. Develop new awards for the recognition of IP in society and in the economy. Promote exhibitions dedicated to IP and innovation in Portugal. Create an IP Day. Make a collaborative space in our office, IP Lab, for interaction of national innovation system. Dynamize IP Training Academy. Strengthen partnerships with the scientific and technological system, and dynamize initiatives for children and young people. And now the last pillar, strengthening international cooperation and harmonization. We will adopt modernization mechanisms with EPO, EUIPO, and WIPO, just to name few. With EPO, PatLib 2.0 and IP outreach are very important to help IP users, special SMEs. And the outsourcing for the search report to improve the quality of the patents is also very important for us. With EUIPO, projects like user area, back office, promoting SMEs, among others, are vital for us. Last but not least, with IPO. As our minister and Mr. Tang said before, we are now a member of WIPO Green, the marketplace for sustainable technology. This project is very important since Portugal is a country with a lot of innovation regarding green technologies. This is due to our natural resources and geographical location with a lot of sun and sea surrounding us. We want also to increase bilateral relations with alliances and partnerships with neighboring countries, and to strengthen cooperation with the Portuguese-speaking countries. Implement annual conferences for Portuguese-speaking countries. Dynamize a new IP portal for Portuguese-speaking countries. Creation of a new type of trademark, the Lusófono trademark, for all Portuguese-speaking countries. Conclusion, to sum up this presentation, I will highlight that our main goal is to be a modern organization that cares and is close to its users and stakeholders, that listens and continuously attempts to improve its performance, never neglecting the needs and well-being of its employees. We want our organization to be sustainable, effective, transparent, inclusive, innovative, an organization that inspires to always do more and better. That brings me to the end. Thank you very much for your attention, and now we will see another video.